coordinators, but I'm going to.
From is the department with us, Shurice?
Yes, Ms. Maseko, they are in the meeting.
Okay.
Was he attacked?
Hmm?
Was he attacked?
No, Collison, not Lucian. Collison's birthday.
Oh,
So I think it's tomorrow.
I thought you were saying he was attacked. No, man, Francois. I'll give you a heart.
Okay, Pilar. Francois was not attacked. Don't get a heart attack. Mute your speaker. Introduce your team and then you'll give the indication of who's going to do the presentation. And the apologies, I don't know if the HOD if he's here, but we received her apology, and Minister is going to leave us 10 to 10 because he has another engagement. So over to you, members. My name is Matrodi Maseko, the chairperson for the
Good morning, Chair. This is Derek America, member of the committee.
Thank you.
Good morning, Brett Heron, a member of the committee.
Andrikus van der Westhuizen.
Okay. Thank you very much, members. I think you are the only three that I note that you joined in the meeting. Let me hand over to the Minister.
Okay, Chair, your connection is very poor. I couldn't hear you, but I think you obviously asked me to introduce my team. Firstly, thank you for affording us the opportunity of today. I'm going to hand over to my HOD to introduce the rest of the team, and then Mr. Nathan Adriaans will do the presentation on our behalf. Thank you very much, Jackie.
Over to you, Jackie.
Minister and Chairperson, I don't think the HOD is attending this meeting. I don't see her as part of the meeting. From my side, I don't see her as part of the meeting.
Okay. So Adrian, are you going to take over the introduction and the presentation?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Can I ask your team to just get the presentation up for us?
Okay.
Okay, I'll put it up quickly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
They just asked for you now.
Mr. Adriaanse, can you please just indicate when the slide should be changed?
I'll do that, Ms. Jones. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you. Can you just big screen? Thank you very much. We can go to the contents page, Ms. Jones. The next slide. Thank you very much. The next slide, please. Thank you. So in terms of the presentation today, we want to present to the Standing Committee the vacancies that we have currently within the Rental Housing Tribunal. We currently have vacancies for 4 ordinary members and 2 alternate member positions. Members will be familiar that we need to fill vacant positions within a 3-month period. We can move to the next slide. If you look at the current skills gap within the tribunal, the next slide will give you an indication of what we have. So at the moment, we've got the chairperson, and members will remember when we presented to the standing committee last year around the chairperson. We appointed the chairperson in October. Our existing members are Ms. Morara, Mr. Van Stade, and Mr. Duplessis. When we appointed the chairperson in October, we also appointed an ordinary member in Ms. Marion Wannenberg in October. Unfortunately, she passed away just at the end of December, early January. So that left us with a vacancy. Members will also be familiar that when we dealt with the chairperson and member last year, we had the challenge with the alternate members, and those positions are vacant. So we come to the committee for 4 members as well as 2 alternate members. If we go to the criteria which we used, you can flip the slide, please, ma'am. In terms of the criteria, you've gone too far, eh? You've gone too fast. If you just go back, please. Yeah. So members will be familiar in terms of the criteria which we use. You can go to the next slide. Ms. Jones, you can move to the next slide, please. You've gone past the slide. I'm looking for the slide which says Rental Housing Act 50 of 99, the appointment criteria. Thank you. So the tribunal, can we just stay on that slide, please, ma'am? Not that one, the one with the criteria. Next. Thank you. Thank you very much. So the tribunal consists of not, and this is as per the Act, of not less than 3 and not more than 5 members who are fit and proper persons appointed by the MEC and must comprise of a chairperson who is suitably qualified and has the necessary expertise, not less than 2 and not more than 4 members of whom at least 1 and not more than 2 shall be persons with expertise in property management or housing development matters. At least 1 and not more than 2 shall be persons with expertise in consumer matters pertaining to the rental housing or housing development matters. A deputy chairperson appointed by the MEC from the members referred to in paragraph B of the subsequent. That is as per the Act, and I can confirm that in terms of the criteria which we use, we ask for experience in property management, experience in housing development management matters, consumer matters in rental housing, consumer matters in housing development. That's the criteria which we then use. You can go to the next slide, please, ma'am. Mr. Chair, thank you. So in terms of advertisements, we call for nominations by way of advertisements in the following media: the Argus, dated the 20th of December, the Burger, dated the 20th of December 2019, Vukani, dated the 10th of January 2020, and was published in the Government Gazette of the 10th of January 2020. The closing date for applications was the 24th of January 2020, and in total we received 11 applications. You can move to the next slide, please, ma'am. So I just want to ask the members to disregard the 70% of the final score if you just look at the shortlist scoring. So what we did was, as the panel, and the panel comprised Mr. Roy Stewart, who is our Director of Land and Asset Management, as well as the chairperson of the Rental Housing Tribunal, Mr. Lionel Esthuizen. And whilst I'm here at this point, can I then tender an apology on behalf of the chairperson, who unfortunately could not make this session chairperson? So what we then decided in terms of the shortlisting, we went through the criteria and we scored all the candidates that we received, and that being the 11. We took on board the advice of and the recommendation of the committee when we attended last year that we should consider interviewing the candidates. The next slide will then show, if we move to the next slide, Ms. Jones, please. The next one. Then what we did was, in terms of the interviews, we then agreed, because we only had 11 candidates, we invited the entire 11 candidates for interviews. And unfortunately, we only had 10 that we saw, because one of the candidates did not pitch for the interview, that being Mr. Khamta, never came to the interview when we had the interviews. So we then had, we did the shortlisting based on what we received in the CVs, and then we had the interviews, and then we came to the final scoring for the candidates. We can move to the next slide. The final score sheet, that's the final score, yeah. So what you then have is, in terms of the final scores, Mr. Van Staden, Mr. Du Plessis, and Ms. Morara, those are existing members of the tribunal, and their contracts should have come to an end in the middle of March, but we extended to the end of June. Chairperson, that's a very brief presentation. Between Mr. Stewart and myself, we can take questions on the presentation. You'll remember that part of what we do at the Standing Committee is provide you with the information to make a recommendation to the Provincial Minister of Human Settlements.
Thank you very much. Is Mr. who's with you?
Mr. Stewart?
Mr. Stewart, is there anything that Mr. Stewart wants to add?
Good morning, Chair. No, ma'am, not at this stage.
Okay. Thank you very much. Members, let's open for the questions. I see Member Maran has joined us. Am I still right to say that? Okay, yeah. Member Heron, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks for the presentation. I have two questions really. The last time we got packs with the details of the candidates. So I'm just checking, is this a first step in the consultation process with the Standing Committee? Because I don't think I got a full pack of the details of all these candidates. And then I raise a concern around the advertising period, that the advertising was done right in the peak of the festive season, 20th of December to 10th of January. I always understood that government didn't advertise in that period because so few people paid attention to publications in newspapers and gazettes. So I raise a concern around when this was advertised. And I'm just asking, are we going to get to see the details of these candidates' applications? Thank you.
I think it's going to be up to us when we do the resolutions of how do we move forward after the presentation and the questions that we are going to ask. It will take the direction from the committee. I'll take the direction from the committee. What do you say we have to do as a way forward? Member Maran, I saw your hand.
No, Chair. Monix to everyone. No, Chair, my hand is not up. Or it wasn't up.
Okay. Member America.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of the concern raised by Honourable Heron in terms of the information about the candidates. I don't know if this qualifies as sufficient information disseminated, but we received the CVs and the nomination details of all the candidates by means of email. I don't know if Honourable Heron did not receive those, and if so, then certainly it's a matter that we need to take into consideration. But if not, I would consider the information that was provided to be sufficiently enough for us to make a determination whether we should proceed with the nominations today. If not, I'm persuaded to decide otherwise if, there are matters that need to be raised or not. In as far as the advertising period is concerned, I don't think that in itself should disqualify us from make a determination at this particular meeting if the meeting so decide. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Member Andrikas, is there something that you want to ask?
Yes, no, thank you, Chair. Chair, I have a number of questions. In a sense, I feel that we are under time pressure. On the other hand, I get the impression that, the process has been delayed running up to today, where it's now serving in front of us. And I would also just, even if it's just for the candidates that we see on the short list, that we do get copies. I know 3 of them we've perused in the past, and we were quite happy to nominate them or to support their nomination. But there are some other candidates' names that I see for the first time, and there I can just add my voice to that of Honourable Heron, that I would appreciate an opportunity, and I think it's just necessary for us to not proceed without having a little bit more detail than just the name and a score being put next to a potential position. Then also, Chair, I think the number of 11 applicants for a position where I would think, there may be more people that might be interested. If I could ask this question to the officials, how did the number of applications differ from previous rounds where we also went out on a public call for nominations? Did the festive season impact, or can we make that kind of assumption looking at the relative small number, to my mind, of people that applied? Perhaps the officials could just help us in that respect.
Okay, thank you very much, Member. I'm going to hand over to the department for their response.
Chairperson, thank you very much. From the department side, we can confirm that all the documentation, the entire pack, the submission with CVs was distributed and disseminated to the Secretariat on the 18th of May.
Through you, Chairperson, that is correct, and that information has been sent to all members with the invitation to the meeting.
Okay, you can continue, Mr. Andresa.
Thank you very much. In terms of and I'll just link what Member Heron asked about the advertising period, as well as Member van der Westhuizen in terms of the numbers that we received. So if we look at when we advertised for the chairperson, the ordinary member last year during July, even in previous cases, you're looking at between 12 and 17 applications. And what we did in this instance, I think that when you look at the period, yes, we advertised over the festive period, but we extended the closing date way into January. So it's always difficult. I think whilst I respect what both Member Heron and Member van der Westhuizen are raising, when you advertise, you can only expect people who have seen the ad to make an application. We are not in a position to go off and search for particular people. We place an advertisement in 3 very well distributed publications amongst the target audience, and that is what we received in terms of the total number of applications being 11.
Thank you very much.
Make an input as such, so that's the question.
Okay. Member Heron, I saw your hand, and after Member America.
Thanks, Chair. I don't seem to have received any of this information, and the detailed information. I've gone back. The notice I got on the 29th of May doesn't have anything attached to it. But be that as it may, the answer about the period of advertising worries me, because I recall that there are so many public participation processes that are challenged because they are advertised in that period. So it's all very well saying we extended the date till the end of January, but if you placed an ad on the 20th of December, it doesn't matter how long you extended the period for. The 20th, that period is regarded as a time when people are not reading newspapers. And so I still come back to, I think it's an inappropriate time to be advertising, given how often government is challenged about advertising and public participation in that process. One of the key challenges to the expropriation bill is that it was advertised in the festive season, and that's a challenge to national government. And here we are advertising on the 20th of December, 4 days before Christmas. To me, it's the wrong time to be advertising, and I think that it's the answer that the application date was extended to the end of January. I don't think helps, because you still have to see the advert in order to know that you can apply.
Okay, thank you, Member America.
Thank you, Chair. I received the information, details of all the candidates with the notice on the 27th of May, if I'm correct. That's the date it was sent by the procedural officer, Ms. Jones. But that aside, Chair, I think what we called upon today is to consider the appointment of 6 candidates to the tribunal. Now, of the applicants, 3 of the candidates are currently serving members of the tribunal. So it's 1 extra new candidate that we need to appoint to the tribunal and 2 alternatives. So the question for me is, in terms of the number of candidates that we need to appoint, will basically be 3 candidates. We need to consider when the existing candidates, if their performance in the past term was up to the standard that we expect them to serve on the panel, whether we should reappoint them. But I do not think that, bar any misconduct charges leveled against the candidates, that they should be barred from serving another term. So in conclusion, Chair, the whole question about the period of advertisement, this is not a public participation process. It does not need to meet the criteria for public participation. This is called for nomination to a particular tribunal. And whether some people may consider the period of advertisement to be inappropriate or not, it is not the criteria is not to be measured against the criteria as determined by the courts in terms of public participation in government processes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Maran.
Chair, no, Chair, I'm fine. I'm fine. Thanks.
Chair?
Your hand keeps going up as if there's something that you want to say. Member van der Westhuizen?
Maybe
Okay. Member van der Westhuizen, after
Yes.
you, then I will go back to the department
Yes.
before I
Thank you.
recognize Member Herren again.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Maseku. Yes, I've just been able to retrieve that email with quite large files attached to it, which then ended up in a different folder by means of my email provider email provider's filter for such big emails. So thank you very much for that. Can I just again get clarity? You say the date for applications were extended until is it the end of January? Because I do see, for example, one of the people that you ranked eventually quite highly only dated his application for the 6th of February. Perhaps we could just get some clarity on that as well. What was the closing date then?
Mr. Andreas, are you there? Anyone from the department? Is there anyone from the department for response if Mr. Andreas is not there?
Chair, from my side is I was on the panel, and we, as I understood, is the administrative process of advertising was completed, and myself and the chairperson and Nathan Adrianse then convened afterward. So I cannot give comment on the date of the application and the extension. I was not involved in the administrative process. Myself and the chairperson and Nathan Adrianse only convened for to meet the interview process.
Okay, if I may ask, the member is right to say your closing date was the 24th of January. As I also saw that there's a CV that indicated the date of February in it.
Yes, I'm getting to know those facts now.
Okay. Member Herren, I saw all questions being answered. Member Herren, I think there's something that he also raised, if maybe he can reiterate it to get the response. And then after Member van der Westhuizen.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think there were 2 points. I don't think that the performance of a member on the panel in the past has got any bearing on whether their application is successful now. I mean, the criteria doesn't say that your performance in the past. I think Honourable America's incorrect in including that as a criteria. The criteria is set out in the legislation, and when your contract ends, it has no right to be renewed. So yeah. I don't think your performance in the past is relevant. You know, my point about the advertising period is not about a referral to the law or to the courts. I think it's just a matter of common sense. So, you know, Honourable America may be correct that it's perfectly legal to advertise 4 days before Christmas. I'm just saying, does it make sense? Is it a fair way of conducting a process? And maybe it's legal, but not everything legal is fair. You know, I mean, if it's perfectly legal and if that's the way we want to approach things, that we advertise in a period when most people are not paying attention, where most government advertising is challenged, then so be it. But I think that the answer that, well, it's legal, so that's fine, is not the attitude that I would like to see us demonstrate. I would like us to see, to be inclusive, to make sure that our processes are inclusive and don't exclude people by virtue of the time period advertised. I mean, we know that many people go to the Eastern Cape on the 15th or 16th of December, so they're not going to see the Argus. They're not going to. So, I mean, it's just an inappropriate time, and it may be perfectly legal, and I may have to abandon my concern, well, abandon my objection, but I'll keep my concern about the period. Thank you.
Chair? Sorry, Chair, I can't hear you, but I'm going to take the gap. Can I just say, also, I don't think past performance on the board can be ignored. If a person did not, live up to the expectations that we have for the tribunal, I certainly believe that should be taken into account.
Yeah, do that.
But also, Chair, I think that it's often good to have some continuity and some turnover or new faces on a structure such as this. I would like to propose, because I'm also concerned about the backlogs, and perhaps the officials could just inform us afterwards what the current backlog is and how the lockdown period affected the work of the tribunal and also the workload of the tribunal. I would like to propose that those members that we in the past have vetted and voted onto the panel or recommended for appointment to the panel, and which, according to the feedback from the officials, have been fulfilling their task, at least by meeting all expectations, that we today confirm their appointment to the panel, those three members that reapplied, but that we hold back because I honestly feel that if we say the closing date has been the end of January and the person applied only on the 6th of February, that would be not right to then just go forward without us first getting more facts regarding this process that was followed. But I wouldn't like to delay the tribunal and add to tenants' discomfort in this time by leaving the board, I could almost want to say, dysfunctional. And that is my proposal, that we therefore support the names of the three that we in the past were happy to support, and that we ask for more information on the process and perhaps even for the advert to be repeated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, member. I think the most important part that we need to remember is it's not a matter of us supporting the candidates, is to check that the process was fair for those who have been shortlisted by the department. The process that they followed was the correct one. And also, remember when we had the meeting about the other board members that they did add, there were some concerns that you as a committee, you raised that there need to be different expertise in that board so that the consumers can be, I still remember the consumers was one of them that the members you highlighted that needs to be there. It mustn't be the legal expertise only. Consumers also have to be covered in that tribunal. So those are the issues that I feel we have to check. And I agree that if the other members haven't had time to look at the CVs to make sure that the concerns that the committee raised have been covered on this board, that it will be the problem. But for the department to appoint for ministers minister to say, this is my team, and it's not up to us that we are going to say, no, this one is not the correct, this one is the correct one. We have to concentrate on the process that the department knows members in the board. If members, you can help me on that one, that when you checked everything, every document that you received, did you see that the process was fair? And it's what we sort of advise that the department have to follow. That will be, we take it from there. Member Maran, did you raise a hand now?
Yes, I've raised my hand now, Chair.
Okay.
Chair, whether the process, your question is fair or not, and that's basically the important issue that you stressed. Now, Chair, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, member. Continue. I just muted my
Yeah.
phone so that it doesn't have a pressure.
No, yeah, no. So I've listened to the question that the Honorable Heron have asked on the issue whether past performance should be taken in consideration. I've also heard now from the Honorable Van der Westhuizen in an attempt to basically respond to the question that the Honorable Heron asked. Now, Chair, and I think one of the officials have responded to that question of Honorable Heron, whether past performance has been taken into consideration. And if that was the case, whether this new process was actually, because our understanding is, for instance, this is a new process. The outcomes basically of the interviews will determine whether a person is the task on how, for instance, they have performed during the last term or period that he was appointed for, and have performed in the interviews. Will he be scored based on his previous performance? Yeah? I'm just a bit confused because what the Honorable Heron have asked, and Honorable Van der Westhuizen by saying yes, previous performances should be taken into consideration. Then it means that doesn't matter whether a person performs poor. His previous performance will will be up to the task or not. Thanks.
Members, is there another question before I hand over to the department?
Chair, yes, please.
Okay, over to you, Member Heron. And then after Member Heron, Member America.
I had my hand up, Chair.
Okay, so Member America, then Member Heron. You can start, Member America.
Thank you, Chair. I think you have encapsulated the essence of the debate, is that we need to determine whether the process was followed, was fair. And in my view, I have observed in my own sort of interaction with the content that the process was fair. I received all the documentation. I consider the extension of the advertising period to the 31st of January to be fair. And I think the process in terms of inviting all the candidates to the interview was fair. And I think this is one thing that needs to be clarified by the officials, is the one candidate whose application was dated the 6th of February, which is after the due date. But I don't think that we should separate the pool of candidates in a sense that those who served before and those who have not, and those who serve, we need to reconfirm their appointment, and others, we need to follow a new process and solicit more applications and go through the process again to determine whether we can gather another 10 more candidates to consider three applicants. I don't think we should go that route. And I think what we have in front of us is sufficient for us to make a determination whether those candidates are fit and proper to serve as members and alternate members of the tribunal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member. Member Heron?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to make this point again that taking into account and deciding to reappoint people based on the fact that they were there before and did okay or did is not a legitimate process. We cannot be, I mean, that is a reviewable. If we were to put in our reasons that we support these candidates because they were on the rental tribunal before and their performance was satisfactory, we would be setting up a reviewable recommendation. That's not an appropriate consideration. The consideration is what the interview panel has now conducted interviews and screening, and they've made recommendations based on that process. And our role, I mean, is to interrogate that process. We can't put ourselves in the seats of those who conducted the interviews or the assessments. We can only interrogate that the process was fair and that the outcome meets the legislative requirements. And you'll recall, as you rightly said last time, the concerns was that there were no members who seemed to have the interests of the consumer or experience of consumer rights in their history. I mean, I don't have the CVs for these candidates. I don't know where they have landed up, but I do know that Mr. Kahanowitz was with the Legal Resource Center, so I know that he comes from a consumer protection background. So I'm not. I mean, I don't know if I'm assuming it's Mr. Steve Kahanowitz. That's one of the candidates, but we can't put ourselves in the seats of those who conducted the interviews. We've got scores. And we have to accept that those are the scores that were achieved by the candidates. My concern is that I don't have the CVs and whether the period when it was advertised was fair. Thank you.
Okay, members, I think there is a concern, and as a chairperson, I'm concerned if we have members that didn't see the CVs, because that means you are not going to put your mind into it to make sure that you are in agreement or you are not in agreement. And we need to be fair to each and every one of us. We are in difficult circumstances that if it wasn't the case, members would have received their files in their offices so that they can go through those files that manually you can see what is happening. And it would have been also the engagement like we did the last time, that we will check and see who hasn't made it, who has made it to be at the top, and what is the difference. And that interaction would have been on the table. So before we do the resolution of what is it that is going to happen, if I can say to the members, indulge me in asking some of the questions to the department before I let them go, so that we can have a discussion of what is going to be our way forward with this process moving forward. Can we agree on that principle?
Agree, Chair.
Okay. Okay, so if there's any other question to the department that is not about the process, maybe the fact finding of their processes to shortlist all those members, can we attend to that one? Or let me start by asking the department, whilst you members, you are thinking about it, because I think we are going to have more discussion after the department in the way forward to see what is it that we can do. Can I ask the department, because I see they knew most of the members on the board, their tenure was going to be until March, and the extension was there. Now, when you look at the closing date, which was the 24th of January, and then you knew that March, and there was an extension. Can you maybe highlight to us that why this was not done earlier, knowing that you have the end of tenure of all what was it that disturbed the department to go through with the processes that they didn't have to extend the tenure for all the board members? That's number one. Number two, if maybe the department can highlight where are these candidates based on the offices of the tribunal? I know you have the judge. Do you have somebody that applied that comes from George, or you have only the Cape Town people only? If we can get the highlight of where are these team or all these candidates based specifically, are they based in Cape Town only or not? And the other one, it will be, just a second, how many do you have on the short list that are consumer experience, and how many are property management experience? And that's, maybe if you can highlight the scope of expertise on all of them, there are 10 of them that came to the interview. I know we have the field of expertise of property, legal, like you put it, but maybe the work experience that made you to have your duplexes high or your fund study. I'm just making an example to that, because if you have Masdor, legal is there at the bottom, and then you have another legal there up, they need to be, maybe you recognize that they have an experience of the sort that made you to score them, or it was only the interview that made you to score them with such a huge difference of about more than 20 or 24. Over to you, Adrian. Or Member Maran, do you want to ask a question?
Chair, yes, because I'm not sure whether the questions was answered. The one is that the Honorable Heron asked about one of the applications whether it was accepted after the closing date. I haven't heard that response. I think it was 6 February. Why is the closing date?
They did answer it, remember? They did answer it.
Yeah, okay, no, then it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Member America, I see your hand. Can I give over to the department?
Hey, Chair, I didn't disable it last time. Sorry, my apologies.
Okay. Mr. Adrianse, over to you, sir.
Chairperson, thank you very much. I see Honorable Lily has also joined the meeting.
Yes. Yes,
Honorable Lily, welcome.
Welcome, Chair. I'm sorry for being late, man. It is because of this technology. I'm very sorry.
Okay, no, we understand you, member.
Set your alarm. You must set your alarm, Lily.
Thank you, member. Over to you, Mr. Adrianse. Members, you are going to stay behind, then you can advise each other about the alarm. Over to you, department.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and welcome to the members who have joined us. Just from a process perspective, Chairperson, as you note, the ad closed on the 24th of January. Now we then have to go through those applications. We have to sift through the applications, and yes, there were only 11. We then have to arrange interviews. We have to have deliberations during the month of February. We have to prepare the submission, and all of that on the back of the fact that you have the 13th of March looming, where members' terms of office are coming to an end. We had to make a decision then to extend the term from March to June, taking into account that we had to follow due process, the interviews, prepare the submission, and then also have an opportunity to present it to the standing committee. So that is where we were in terms of the process. We could not have foreseen the lockdown scenario which played out at the end of March, and we just followed our own process that said we are going to do the interviews, prepare the submission, wait for a date that is with the standing committee. And then just in terms of the candidates, I think the point which both Member Heron raises as well as Member van der Westhuizen. Yes, we have if you want to call it, a small pool of candidates to choose from. But I do want to take the opportunity to assure the members that we have heard the members in the previous round when we presented in terms of the chairperson and member. One of the points which the members raised in the last round is you seem to have this, and you being the tribunal, have a lot of legal expertise on your tribunal, and you'd want to spread that. So you want to have legal, you want to have property, and you want to have the missing element, which Member Heron was so vociferous about in the last meeting, the issue of consumer matters. Now, I can then say to the members and chairperson that all of these members are based within the Western Cape, within the Cape Metro, where we have the George office, as you rightly point out. We have ad hoc hearings where we move to a place, and this being because we have a George office and we're dealing with, but we can take ad hoc hearings to any district. And remember also, chairperson and the members, for any sitting, we only require a quorum of 3 members. So from an expertise perspective, if you looked at the slide which we presented, the chairperson, the current chairperson, has a property background. The deputy chairperson, currently Ms. Morara, has a legal background. Mr. Van Staden, whilst he has property, he's also got, when again using the interviews, he also has a consumer matters portion to his CV. Mr. Du Plessis has a property background. Now, when you look at the members, and just to assist Member Heron is correct. Mr. Steve Kahanovitz is indeed the consumer, has vast consumer matters experience, as well as one of the other members that we interviewed, Ms. Georgina Krauth. While she scored low, she's also a consumer matters journalist who has worked extensively on a number of different consumer matters. So from our side, what you then look at in terms of the recommendation that one makes to the committee, and I hear what the members are saying about you can't go on past experience and all, but the fact is that you have members who have applied, we've objectively scored them, and that is what we have done. The proposal that we make to the committee is that we consider the 3 existing members. Adding to that would be Mr. Kahanovitz as the consumer, and then you have 2 alternates which we can propose to the committee. But chairperson, I think that I appreciate the comments, and we recognize that there are many areas which we can improve on. But I think at this point in time, we have a very good pool, as shallow as it may be, but good candidates to serve on the tribunal.
Thank you very much. Mr. Stewart, is there something that you want to add?
No, ma'am. I think Mr. Adrian just covered everything.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Member Heron, I see your hand.
Thank you. I just wanted to, get some clarity. Is the department recommending, if we look at slide 8, to appoint the 6 candidates that are, is it 4 + 2 that scored the highest? Because I don't actually see what their recommendation is. Is that the recommendation that they appoint Mr. Van Staden? I don't know if it's Mr. or Miss Van Staden, Du Plessis, Morara, Kahanovitz, Africa, Dumini, in that order. Thank you.
I think it's slide 13. The one that you said we must look at, the final score one, Shumis. The slide 13. Yeah. Member Heron?
My slides are only numbered to 8.
Okay, there's the one on the screen. If you can look on the screen, you'll see there.
So is it
The
is it
list.
sorry, Chair, is it the top 6 that they're recommending?
Yeah, that means from what I'm hearing is the top 6. Mr. Stewart, I recognize you, sir.
Ma'am, Chair, just a correction. The department does not make a recommendation. We just go through the procedure and we do the interviews and the ranking. It's the committee that recommends to the minister who they feel that is appointment in terms of what is in front of them. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Adran, sir, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chair. But if I could assist somewhat, if I took what Member Heron was saying, how do we see it? The way we see it is Mr. Van Staden, Mr. Du Plessis, Ms. Morara, and then we want to take Mr. Kahanowitz as the 4 main members that we add, and then you have this the issue of the alternate members, and what we want to propose to the members is that if you consider Miss Africa and if you consider Miss Krauth, so Miss Africa has property and Miss Krauth is that consumer journalist. So what the thinking then is that you now have legal, you've got property, and you then have consumer. So you've got 6 members, and again, I'm just trying to assist because one of the questions which Member van der Westhuizen raised was around the backlog. Now, when you have a full complement of members, in this instance, you will have 7, given the fact you only need to have 3 in a particular hearing. We can then have 2 tribunal sittings to deal with the backlog which we're currently faced with. That then blends itself, so you will have legal, property, and consumer, and you cover your bases as per the requirements of the Act.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, is there still another question before I let the department leave us? Okay, I'm going to take it that there's
Chair.
no question.
Sorry, Chair. If you're going to let the officials go, would you mind, and I know this is not on the agenda for today, but let them just quickly inform us regarding the backlog.
Member van der Westhuizen? Okay.
Could they perhaps just before they leave, just inform us about the backlog and the effect of the lockdown?
Okay. Mr. Adranse, did you hear the question?
I have indeed heard the question, Chairperson. Can I respond to Member van der Westhuizen?
Yes. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Member van der Westhuizen and the Chairperson, you remember that when we were in the Standing Committee on the 20th of May, we indicated, and particularly I'm just dealing with the lockdown. During the lockdown period for April, we received 159 inquiries. Those inquiries related to unlawful notices to vacate, arrear rentals, termination of municipal services, unlawful evictions, illegal lockouts. I can then say for the month of May, because you remember that we've gone from level 5, level 4, we're now in level 3. During level 5 and level 4, there were no evictions allowed. Level 3, there are evictions allowed under level 3, but they are not executed during level 3. For the month of May, we received 106 inquiries. We've already done some work on those. Out of that 106, we have 34 confirmed complaints which have been registered with the tribunal. So we have 34. Going forward, I can also say to this standing committee as well as the members You remember that we made a determination that the tribunal is to be considered an essential service. We are now using this particular period. This week, the team are busy preparing the court roll. We will, in a virtual environment, be holding hearings from the week of the 8th. That will deal with all those emergency and urgent matters. So we have our court roll starting up now for the next 3 weeks. In terms of the backlog of cases, to Member van der Westhuizen, we have just over 950 cases in backlog at the moment. That includes, I might add, that includes 160 cases which relate to communique.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, Mr. Johnson, you say the communique is how many cases?
We have 160.
160. Okay. Thank you very much. Member Andrikas, I see your hand is not down. Do you still have a follow-up?
No, thank you for that information, Chair. I think it's something that we should perhaps consider when we look at resolutions going forward, because it is a number that does disturb me.
Okay. Maybe, Mr. Adonse, if you can, in thumb sucking, I know it's wrong to say thumb sucking. Under normal circumstances, how many sittings do you have with the tribunal in handling the cases per month? Under normal circumstances.
Under normal circumstances, Chairperson, the tribunal sits thrice a week. That's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and every week. Our role is traditionally full for the next 3 months. When we went into lockdown at the end of March, we postponed the April matters as well as the May matters. So we have to put all of those matters back on the roll. The process we're following now is going back to those parties. We've already, as I've said, we started that process of going through the cases which we had on the roll. We've already closed a number of those matters where the parties have, during this lockdown period, they've resolved the matters amongst themselves. So typically we would sit thrice a week, but given the backlog, and again to deal with Member van der Westhuizen's concern, we are going to, for the first 2 weeks, we're going to run as normal, thrice a week. And because we're running a virtual hearings, we're going to put more matters on the roll, and we're going to run, from the 3rd week of June, we're going to run a 5-day week of hearings as well.
If maybe you can indicate why did we have such a number of backlogs before this pandemic? What were the reasons for that? What were the challenges that created that backlog?
So Chairperson, thank you very much. Just in terms of the backlog, a backlog arises due to a number of reasons. You investigate, it's the nature of the complaint. And remember also, every complaint which is registered with the tribunal does not result in a hearing with the tribunal. Our mandate as the tribunal is to mediate disputes between landlord and tenant. So a lot of the work which we put in goes into mediations. And when you mediate, there's a settlement agreement which needs to be finalized between both parties. So that is one portion of it. The time it takes to mediate between the parties and then get the ruling out. Parties might not be available to attend to matters. You might have a landlord who is outside of the country and also only visits 2 or 3 times a year. So you have to also schedule it around that. But the backlog is something that between the department, it's also very high on the minister's program of action, and we report into the minister in terms of the progress that you're making in terms of the backlog. Perhaps as a recommendation, or we might have to submit those reports to the committee as well, so you can also get sight of those reports to get a sense of where things are in terms of the backlog.
Okay. Thank you very much. Are the members allowed, if they can do an oversight when you have the sittings for these cases, that they can join in to sit and observe?
I think that will be welcomed. It will give the members good insight, and because it's virtual, just to observe it would be fantastic.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Adranse. Members, I think that was all for the department. Are we in agreement to that?
Agreed.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think Mr. Adranse and Stewart, thank you very much for your presence. I'm going to allow you to exit so that we can check the way forward with the members for the resolutions of what is the way, how are we going to handle the report, our report to you. Members?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you to members as well. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, members, let's have a discussion. One, the highlight is the issue of not all of you have seen the CVs, so you cannot compare. Or Member Heron, I see your hand.
Yes, Chair, just to say that Member van der Westhuizen helped me find my email. It was in my junk mail as well. So I have now, while you were talking, been scanning those CVs. So I apologize, I did receive it, but not in my main email folder. If I may just ask if the procedural officer will do like the others have done in other committees, they put documents in the files on Microsoft Teams, because I did look there before we met and there's nothing there except the agenda, but I have the CVs now. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you very much, member. I think Shimizu, you will communicate that to the department for future, ne?
Yes, we'll do so.
Okay, thank you very much. So members, you have that, and I take it that it's going to be difficult today to really say that our report says yes or no, because you haven't looked at the CVs. Are we in agreement with that?
Chair, I know I have my hand up.
Yeah.
But my point is, if the meeting so decide that we should not express ourselves in terms of preference, in terms of the appointment, because some members did not have enough time to peruse the series, I'm happy to go along with that, that we don't do it today, but I am against us re-advertising for new applicants. I think, I'm sufficiently satisfied that the process has been fair and transparent. We need not to confirm or recommend certain candidates today if the meeting so decide, but I'm not in agreement that we should restart the process and solicit new applications for positions. But as a side note, Chair, I'm happy to go along because I've perused all the CVs. I'm happy to go along with the nominations recommended by the department in terms of the 4 candidates and the 2 alternates being Miss Africa and Miss Crouch. I'm happy to go along with that if the meeting so decide. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Member Heron?
Yes, Chair, as I said, I perused the CVs after Member van der Westhuizen WhatsApped me to tell me where I might be able to find them. So I'm also happy that we can deal with it now if everybody else is ready. I've gone through the CVs and I agree with Member Merrick. I think the proposal from the department is an appropriate one.
Okay, thank you very much. Member Maran?
No, Chair, I'm happy.
Okay, Member Lily?
I do not have, in fact, I'm covered.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the only thing that I have to be the voice of the gender equality of the members. I'm the only one, because here also I don't have that gender equality. So the only women that will be there, it's only one in the members. The alternates of two are, they're just going to add on the team that is already male dominant, which is a concern again that I also raised the other time. So it's just a concern, but the CVs, I had a look also at the CVs. I'm happy with the proposal of the department. Now, are we in agreement with the proposal of the member, the candidate growth, journalism, to be also on the top 6 as the department proposed?
Chair.
I agree. Chair.
Yeah.
I agree,
Chair.
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 Okay. Yes, Member Heron?
Maran.
Oh, Member Maran?
Chair, I just wanted to check, Chair, in terms of the proposal, it's the top 4 from Van Stade to Koranovic.
Yeah.
Then another 2, Chair, if I'm correct, is it Africa? And then Crouch.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yes, Africa.
Chair, I just want, yeah. Okay, I just wanted to check, Chair, because there's legal requirements in terms of what should be on the board. Now I see there's property, there's legal, there's administration, there's journalism, and we have then said that we must bring in journalism, which is Crouch, if I'm correct, ne?
Yeah.
Administration
Okay.
is not.
Okay, I'm listening, Member.
I just want to check, Chair. Administration is not a legal requirement.
No, what the department said is, okay, number 1, Van Stade is a property, has experience in property and also in consumer. Kahanovitz also is legal and also has a consumer. The journalism also has consumer experience.
No, Chair, I'm specifically speaking about administration. But if administration is covered within those who's been shortlisted, then I'm fine.
Okay, no, administration, remember that is covered by the department side.
Okay,
so
then I'm covered.
Yeah.
I'm a.
Okay. Other members, are you happy with that? It's Van Stade, Duplessis, Morara, Kahanovitz, Africa, and Krauth.
Agreed?
Okay.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you very much, members. So if you can look at your screen, can you all see your screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Already, go to the top, Shumis. Can you move your slides, Shumis, so that we can start from the beginning?
Ms. Maseko, are we looking at the report or the actual slides? The report.
The committee report, yeah.
Okay, so it's the one.
This is the report that we are going to send through. Okay. So members, look at the report, and then if there's any changes that you feel we have to include, they'll be there. So I will read it. The report of the Standing Committee on Human Settlements on its recommendations for the appointment of candidates to the Western Cape Rental Housing Tribunal. 1, the Western Cape Rental Housing Tribunal currently has 6 vacancies. The position of 4 ordinary members and 2 alternative members became available on 13th March. Section 9(1) of the Rental Housing Act 50 of 1999 stipulates the tribunal consists of not less than 3 and not more than 5 members who are fit and proper persons appointed by the MEC, and must comprise of a chairperson who is suitably qualified and has the necessary expertise and exposure to rental housing matters. There should not be less than 2 and not more than 4 members, of whom at least 1 and not more than 2 shall be persons with expertise in property management or housing development matters. There should be at least 1 and not more than 2 members, 2 persons with expertise in consumer matters pertaining to rental housing or housing development matters. Advertisements calling for nominations for 4 ordinary member and 2 alternate members' positions were published in the following publications: the Agas, the Berger, Vugani, Government Gazette. Upon conclusion of the advertisement process, Department of Settlement provided the committee with a short list of candidates for the 4 vacancies. The committee, having considered these nominations, agrees to the recommendations as follows. The committee recommended that the following persons be considered as ordinary members: Mr. Van Staden, Mr. Duplessis, Ms. Murara, Mr. Kahanovitz. The committee recommended that following persons be considered as alternate members to serve on the Western Cape Rental Housing Tribunal: Ms. Africa and Ms. Krauth. The committee recommended, no, I think that's the end of our report. Are we in agreement with everything? Is there any changes that members feel we have to do?
Chair, I propose that we adopt it. May I just request that the initials of those people also be added, but that's not a major thing for us. I just think
with
it
the
would
amendment
be more
of the
appropriate.
initials. Yes, we will amend and put in the initials there, member. Any comment from other members?
Chair, I support this, but can I also ask that we afterwards go over to some recommendations or resolutions?
Yeah, we will go there, member. So you are in support. Is any seconder for that report to go through?
Seconded.
Okay, thank you, Member Heron. So with the amendment of the initials in the names, it's going through. Thank you very much, members. Can we now have resolutions? Member Andrikas, you will be the first.
Chair, my first one would be that we, as a committee, express ourselves I'm looking for a better word than wish, but that we recommend to the department that they advertise earlier, because these are fixed terms. If you know that the member's term is going to come to an end on the 13th of March, and it takes you 6 months to go through the process of being able to consult and invite people for interviews, etc., then you must allow yourself a longer time period than 3 months. So that would be my first one. The second one, and I actually want to leave that to Honourable Heron because it was his point, is that they, in future, try to avoid placing adverts over the festive season. I think we really want to expand the pool of people that apply. And then thirdly, the way the Act is currently worded seems as if one is either a consumer expert, or you're a legal expert, or you're a property expert. And sometimes you could be, sitting on 2 chairs simultaneously. I mean, if you've been serving on a legal aid board, then you've been assisting consumers, but you probably also have a high level of legal background. And now it seems to me what the department has to do is to shoehorn people and give them a label and say, you're our consumer guy, you're our legal guy, etc. And I think the wording of the Act is something which I think we should look at. Thank you.
Okay. Members? Member Maran? Any resolution from your side?
No, Chair, I'm covered. It's just the one that the Honourable raised about the period of advertising And he also said that he think the best person to raise that particular point will be the Honorable Aaron. I've read now, so I can see the recommendations, and that one is still absent. So maybe if you can go to the Honorable Aaron.
All right. Okay, as mandated, Member Heron.
Chairperson, I think Honourable van der Westhuizen phrased it perfectly, and I see the recommendation is there, so I'm happy with the way it's worded. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I see. I see.
Okay.
Now I see. That's 6.1.2.
Yes.
Members, I just need clarity on the last recommendation. There was 3 that you raised.
That the
wording of the Act.
Of the Rental Tribunal Act be reconsidered, especially regarding the minimum and maximum numbers of people serving on the tribunal.
Okay, so
Because people could have an expertise or a history of service in more than one field.
So it would be considered the number of candidates. Could you maybe just rephrase that for me?
It's more about the act, Shumis, that the wording on the act, the wording is sort of short changes other specialities.
Consider revising the wording of the act.
Yeah, the wording of the act.
Chair.
Yes, Member Maran.
Maybe, Chair, if you can go to the Honorable Lily also to check whether he have any recommendation. I'm just an alternate member.
Okay, Member Lily, that's my favorite member. Can I hear your voice?
Yes.
Okay.
You see, the problem of having these meetings sometimes at home, you get disturbed by. I didn't even hear you. I don't want to. I'm very sorry.
I don't want to ask who disturbed you by doing what, remember? Just save us.
Just coming in and out of my house. So this thing is disturbing really sometimes.
Yeah, your honorable member will take what you are saying. That disturbance is people coming in and out. Yeah. Okay, members. The other one is the one that I mentioned, that we should be invited when there's the sittings. Are you in agreement to that one? To observe?
I am. I'm in agreement in that.
Is the majority of members in agreement?
Yes.
Okay. I think maybe we can also identify if there's any shortfalls. Johan, I see your hand.
Hello, Chairperson. Thank you very much. I just want to point out, if I may, that I think 6.1.3 Shumis hasn't captured it entirely yet. If members can just assist, because it says at this stage, the committee requested that the department consider revising the wording of the Rental Housing Act, and the Act number and stuff we can put in later, but to advise it to include, I think with that wording must just be completed there.
Okay, I think the member van der Westhuizen, can you assist there?
Chair, I will. I've just now quickly first did 6.1.1. A proposal there is that the department initiate, and you will see it there in the chat, initiate the process for the filling of upcoming vacancies on the tribunal 6 months in advance.
Okay.
That is a recommendation.
Okay.
The third one there, consider revising the wording of the Rental Housing Act.
Mr. van der Westhuizen, just give me a chance to type. I can't keep up with you. The vacancies for positions.
Initiate the filling of upcoming vacancies for positions 6 months in advance. Is that what you said, member?
Chairperson, just on a point of order, I think we need not to be so prescriptive in terms of stating the number of months in advance. We would say not less than 3 months in advance. So that would provide a degree of latitude to the department in terms of when they will initiate the process.
Okay, members, here's another proposal. Member Johan Vermeulen. Not member, sorry. Senior Procedural Officer Johan Vermeulen. I see your hand is still up.
No, Chairperson, I apologize. It's my lack of experience with lowering my hand. Maybe I must just press it again.
Withdraw that hand, member.
Thank you, thank
members, you. Members, the proposal of member America counter to the 6 months of member Andricas.
Chair, perhaps what one can then say is at least 3 months before.
Okay, at least 3 months before. Okay.
Before upcoming vacancies will arise or something like that.
Okay, members, Shumis, do you have recordings of all this, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to hold the members unnecessarily so. So the invite is there, the 3 months is there, the act is there. Is there any other recommendation, members?
If I can just get the finalization of the sentence for 6.1.3.
Member Andricas, can they capture your sentence again for the
yes,
the revising, please?
I've got here to provide for applicants with experience and expertise in more than one field. But then I also wanted to add something like and more flexibility in the composition of
okay, so member, you have changed from the act being reviewed. You are adding that there should be a regulation that allows the flexibility in their composition.
Okay, Chair, I'm posting it there in the chat.
Okay, thank you very much. She will capture it from the member Heron.
I'm all good, thank you.
Yeah, that's your specialty on that one. Considering the revising of the wording of the Rental Housing Act, that means the act has to be reviewed. Am I right in saying that?
Correct.
Okay. So the most important part of this 6.1.3 is the review of the act as it stands so that it can be flexible.
Agreed.
Okay. I think that's all, members. You have captured that, Shumis, isn't it? Anyway, there's recording.
Yes, Ms. Maseko, I'll finalize that after the meeting. I have taken a pic of the chat.
Okay, you are our person. We are what we are because you are there. Thank you very much, Shumis, for that. Members, is there anything else that we would love to add?
Chair?
Yes, over to you, member.
I would like us also to support the move of the tribunal to virtual sittings. We just heard that sometimes it's difficult for landlords, and I can imagine they've mentioned, for example, landlords that reside in foreign countries. I can also just imagine that a landlord based in Johannesburg would appreciate an opportunity to put his case online or during a virtual meeting. And so it's something that I think we as a committee should support. And perhaps we can say virtual and blended sittings, so that not everybody needs to be in Cape Town or in George for that sitting. but that some members could be in the same room post-COVID lockdown, and that some participants could be allowed to engage through online means with the tribunal. I think it's something which we should support, hopefully also to address the backlog. And then lastly, I think we need to ask that a report, because that's an offer that was made to us, that reports on the monthly backlogs of the tribunal for the past year be submitted to this committee.
Okay. I think we have captured that also. I think that's all. Shumis, is there any documents that we have to the quarterly report?
Yes, I will screen them now.
Okay, thank you. I think we are done with that one, member. Please check your emails. Technology, that's what works for us. You will see the final document of this, and then please check if wording is correct. You agree to everything, and respond to Shumis in agreement, so that we in adoption of that report, and then we will of the minutes, and then we'll be done with it. Shumis, you wanted to say something?
I've got the minutes on the screen for the 20th of May. If members can maybe just look at the resolutions and see if that is according to what they've wanted. I'll scroll down.
Okay, thank you very much, members. The member Smith was the one who was attending, and the resolutions were a report that details the department's plans, including the costing to de-densify Kosovo, Danun, and Kailicha, the business plan of the transitional residential areas project, the implementation schedules, project phases, and time schedules for completion. And the last one, the committee resolved to monitor and review the progress of the transitional residential areas development for a period of 6 months when circumstances are conducive. An oversight visit to the various sites or similar sites will be conducted. So members, what I will do, I'm going to find out, Shumis, we haven't received any documents from the department, is it? The progress report.
No, this stuff hasn't been adopted yet, and I can't say that anything if this hasn't been adopted.
Okay, so now, members, we are going to send to the department, and immediately after we do receive the response, then we can have a conversation of the oversight. Please check your emails. I'll communicate with you, but that will be dependent on the report that we get from the department of how far are they with the process of implementing those TRAs. Are we in agreement?
Yes, for sure. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Chair, have you called for us to adopt the minutes? Have you called for us to adopt the minutes?
No, not yet. I wanted to hear, are you in agreement with everything that is there for the actions? Did we capture everything? Okay. Can we adopt?
I propose, Chair, that we adopt. No.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. And the quarterly report, Shumis?
Give me 1 second. Let me just pull that up quickly.
Members, you did receive it, isn't it?
Chair.
Yes, Chair, yes. On the 27th of May.
Okay, thank you very much. So the second page is the 12th February. Pardon?
Chair, the first page.
Okay, talk to the first page.
My surname, Chair.
Why would we have sunglasses in the meeting? Sorry, member, continue.
Look like a mugshot on the Roman.
it's protective glasses, Chair.
I understand, member. It's this age
Chair,
thing.
Yeah. Chair,
Chair,
my surname.
you know that the sale of liquor was lifted. The ban was lifted this week.
I'm not a
Members?
drinkage.
Other members. Other members.
Order member and Rika order.
Alcohol have never crossed my lips. Chair.
Okay.
Chair, my surname.
Member Maran, you are protected. Go on.
My surname.
Member Maran. Oh, she means there's a spelling error there of double
It's
A.
corrected now. It's corrected now, Chair. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, members. Can we go to page 2? Any changes that you feel we have to do? Nothing. 3?
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah.
Just on that same page where Honorable Maran's surname was just now corrected, I see it's Baku Baju Force. Perhaps we can just correct that as well.
Okay.
That's on the version I have in front of me.
Baku Baku.
Yeah, Chair, and my initial is also absent. Is it? No, it's there. The back. Sure.
Okay.
Baku Baku Force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to page 3. And page 4, the most important one. Check members. You are happy with that? Can we move page 5? Okay, and page 6. Baku Baku Force, Maran is, and Vimbi is wrong.
Yeah,
Okay. And others are okay. Page 7. And page 8. And page 9. That's all, members. Can we adopt our quarterly report?
I propose, Chair, we adopt.
Okay, thank you very much, member. Thank you, member Andrikas. That is all, Shamiz, isn't it?
No, we still have to do the committee program.
America.
Member America?
Propose.
Okay. Thank you. Where's the committee? Program, Shamiz? Are you still busy with it?
No, it's sorry, I thought I was screening it.
Okay. Okay, the program, the 3rd of June, you are too quick, Shamiz. Just go to move a little bit. Okay, then you can go. The committee program members. So we are having, go to the next date, Shamiz. Okay, our next meeting is going to be on the 15th of July, and it will be for the 4th quarterly performance report. And then I'm still trying to see if I can invite the city for the bulk services readiness pertaining to the TRAs that are happening or still have to be implemented. We'll find out on that. Are we okay with that one, the 15th of July?
Yes.
Agreed.
Great, Chair.
Okay. And the 29th July, okay, let me do it this way. Can we agree in principle with as you see the program? And as and when we have to change, like if we want to go to the tribunal to be invited there, then we will slot in on one of the dates. And then also if we are to go for the oversight to check where the TRA are going to be implemented, the readiness or any other thing that can crop up that is urgent, then it will be under my discretion to slot it in. Can you trust me with that? Responsibility for the way forward?
I support, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. Can we adopt then as it stands?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you, Member Heron. Shamis, that was the last, isn't it?
Yes, Ms. Maseko.
Okay, members, thank you very much for your patience. Yes, Member Maran, is there something you want to say?
Just to remind Shamis, I think it's an issue that the Honourable Aaron raised, and I'm not sure whether we have captured it somewhere, is for informations to be loaded onto the Teams.
Okay.
Yes, I will do so for every meeting.
Okay, I'll also give the responsibility to Mr. Vermeulen to capture that one also.
Do you want me to put it in the minutes, or is it just something that
no,
I must...
it's just to, yeah, it must happen. And also, Johan, please capture it that for our meetings, the files in the Teams have to be there for us to access them as we continue with the meetings.
Noted. Thank you, Chairperson. Will do.
Okay. Thank you very much. Members, I do appreciate you. Johan, Shamis, I also do appreciate you with the IT support system that is there all the time. Have a blessed day and be safe. God bless. Thank you.